Hi, I'm Ian Lloyd.
And I'm Lou Turco with the law firm of Hoskins, Turco, Lloyd, and Lloyd. Ian, we want to pose some questions to our viewing audience here, and I was going through my brain trying to think of some questions, and I thought about common pitfalls that Social Security disability claimants face throughout the whole disability process.
Okay.
Help us understand, or what are some pitfalls that you've learned of through your experience?
I would say probably the most difficult situation to deal with is when you have a claimant who you do feel is legitimately disabled. You go and get their records, and you're reading the records, and oh my gosh, you just go, why did my client tell the doctor all these various things, all these damaging things? For example, we'll have a client who was injured maybe 2 years ago, claiming that they were disabled 2 years ago. On a recent visit, they'll go to the doctor and say, yeah, doc, yesterday I was changing the oil in my car, and that my back injury, it's even more, painful now. So what does the doctor do? Patient here today stating that he was changing his motor oil and now his back pain is worse. What happens then? It's in the record. It's fair game for Social Security to read. Once Social Security does get those records, what do you think the judge is going to do when he reads it?
Well, that's a pretty heavy-duty task to be changing oil, or if the claimant's telling the doctor that they just got back from Disney World or something like that. And we're not saying that people who go to Disney World cannot be disabled, but the point is, I think what you're trying to bring out is that you have to be careful what you tell your doctors. You have to be truthful. You don't lie to your doctors, but you also have to be aware of the fact that medical providers do document what you tell them. And a lot of times, and here's the sad part, the doctors will blow out of proportion what the person is saying, or may even state something inaccurately that doesn't even apply. So I think the person has to be even more careful that what they do tell the doctor is exactly what's going on and the truth, and to be truthful with their doctors.
Stick to what the ailments are, where you hurt, why you're depressed, what your symptoms are, and just leave out the anecdotal information. So in the example I gave of the gentleman who was changing his oil or whatever, he very simply could have just gone to the doctor and said, Doc, my back is really hurting me today. And leave out the anecdotal stuff. And again, disabled people can still do certain activities. So we're not trying to say that, oh my gosh, if you're disabled, you have to lay in bed all day long. No.
Or the test for disability isn't that you have to be in a wheelchair or in a coma or confined to a cane. That's certainly not the test. You have to be seriously limited by your impairments. But I think the important thing is to make sure that you're careful and that what you represent to your doctors is the truth. And
exactly.
Don't exaggerate what you tell your doctors. Here's another important one. What about, and I get this coming all the time, people who they're going through the disability process, they don't have money coming in, and they want to know if they can work part-time. And then they go back to work, and they try working, and they want to basically work and try to draw disability benefits at the same time. I mean, do you ever see that problem?
All the time. And that is very difficult to deal with because, quite frankly, the number of cases that I've seen that we're presenting to a judge where the person is working, even if it's on a part-time basis, the number of cases we've seen where the judge still approves the disability while someone is working part-time, they're few and far between. Even though the regulations do allow an individual to work to a certain degree. But the end result is working, whether it's part-time or full-time, while the disability case is pending, can be very detrimental to a claim. And, it gets difficult because you will have someone who is, 2 minutes away from living on the streets, and they'll say, they'll justify it. I have to work. I have to, otherwise, I'm going to starve. I've got to feed, my children. And, you really do empathize with the person, but unfortunately, empathy can't play into it, or sympathy. It all comes down to whether you can work or not. Not if you're working, but here's why. Here's the motivating factor. The judge isn't going to get into any of that. So I guess the easiest piece of advice is, if you can avoid working even on a part-time basis, do so. If you do have to work part-time, make sure you keep the work well below the substantial gainful activity amount, which changes every year. So if you do have questions about what the current amount is, please contact us so we can give you that information.